Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Apologies for being late on the match reaction. But guys, Arsenal. Arsenal have done it again. They have absolutely put Villa to the sword today. All the hype about it being the biggest game of the season in terms of the title race and Manchester City hunting down Arsenal and are Arsenal going to bottle? Is it their year? Villa on the most insane winning streak. I think it was 11 or 12 before this game, and Arsenal have beaten them 4-1. 4-1. Last season, we saw Villa come back from 2-0 down at the Emirates to kind of kill Arsenal's title hopes, and the season before, the game that probably lost Arsenal the title. I think it actually was the game that lost Arsenal the title. And even the previous fixture, which happened 3 weeks ago at Villa Park, where they scored a last-minute winner to sink Arsenal. So this game had some build-up, guys. This game had some, they had some rivalry. It had some bad blood between the two teams. And what a game of football. That second half was unreal, man. Heading into the game, there's a lot of, mix-up and, changes in the lineups. Villa had some key players missing. They didn't have Kamara, who's been so quality for them, this season. They didn't have Matty Cash, their starting right back. I'm pretty sure they were missing some centre-backs too, like Pau Torres. I think they had 1 or 2 players leaving to AFCON as well. So Villa had some key players missing from their 11 today. But honestly, I think the biggest thing that took the headlines was that before the game, probably about an hour or two before the game, Declan Rice was left out of the squad because he is injured. And now, when that news came out, as it is, Arsenal were kind of at an advantage with the Villa absences. But Declan Rice being out, that was big. That was big personally. In my opinion, I'm like, okay, I saw that. I'm like, this game can go any way now. With Rice being in the squad, Arsenal's probably best player, in my opinion, this season and towards the end of last season too. Missing him in a crucial title race game, that is a big game changer. So a lot of eyes were on Arsenal today. A lot of eyes were on that midfield today. Can the likes of Zubimendi, Marino, Odegaard, their physicality, their presence, can they keep up with the legs of Onana, Tielemans, and Morgan Rogers? That was the big test, in my opinion, today. And in the first half, to be fair, I'm not going to lie to you, that Arsenal midfield did not look convincing. As much as I do like Zubimendi, as much as I do like Odegaard, in that first half, they didn't really get it ticking. You could tell that the legs of Declan Rice was seriously missed in that first half. I mean, Villa, countless times, probably 2 or 3 times within the first 30 minutes of the first half. They had the better chances on the break. Ollie Watkins, slots it wide. Rodgers finding himself in open places. And the warning signs were there for Arsenal. The warning signs were there, Villa, to a lot of people's surprise, looked the more dangerous side. And to my surprise, I thought they were going to sit back, counter, absorb pressure, hit Arsenal on the break, just like how they did against Chelsea. That first half in Villa, they could have really done something. For Arsenal, as much as they had the ball, nothing was really clicking in the first 45 minutes. I mean, Gyökeres had a couple chances here and there. Saka was very quiet. In fact, I think he was actually quite quiet for most of the 90 today. I didn't really see him present himself. I thought Digne did a really good job of defending him. But honestly, the biggest thing was that second half. The biggest takeaway, however you want to attack and analyze this game, you just have to look at that second half, because the way Arsenal came out, the way they absolutely peppered the Villa today, guys, that second half was brutal. If you're a Villa fan, hey, 11-game winning streak, fair, man, fair. But that second half, I'm sure you guys are going to forget about that one. That was a statement second half from Arsenal. And to be fair, I forgot to mention this. Something I did realize in that first half was how high up Arsenal were playing. You'd often see Nketiah, Timber, these guys were playing as if they were wingers, man. They were so high up the pitch, which is why, the likes of Watkins, Tielemans, Rodgers on the break, they got so much space. Onana was able to run free for 30, 40 yards, driving the ball forward. Something that, that kind of surprised me in that second half was that Arteta didn't really put the handbrake on. He just let it go. He let the fullback stay up the pitch. You saw Nketiah, Timber overlapping constantly. The pressure was up. The high press was there, and there's only one man who I should give credit to for leading that high press. It's not Saka, it's not Gyökeres, it's not Trossard. It's Mr. Capitano, Martin Odegaard. Every single time Villa had the ball in their own half, deep into their own half, sometimes in their own box, who was pressing, who was leading everyone? It was Martin Odegaard. Martin Odegaard, welcome back. Welcome back to football, man. We have missed you. We have missed you. Neutrals have missed you. Arsenal fans have missed you. Non-Arsenal haters have missed you. Welcome back to football. Because for the last year, I'll be honest, your performances were below average, were below par, were below what they needed to be in terms of Arsenal's title hopes. So for you to come back from injury, I know he's been out with injury. You know, last year he suffered a major injury, which saw him out for 3 or 4 months. This year, beginning of the season, he suffered an MCL, out for another 2 months or so. For him to come back, see as they drop a hat-trick against Spurs, come back, wear the captain's armband, and show everyone who's boss. That is Martin Odegaard. That is 3 or 4 games in a row now where he's just looked immense. Immense. What a performance. Everything just, seems to go through this guy. He's really like the glue of the team. He's often, labeled as the connector of this Arsenal team. And look, as much as many people don't like the connector, you can kind of understand how much of an important role he plays in this Arsenal team. He may not be the most, vocal captain. People are often saying Declan Rice should be, he should be the captain. He's more vocal. He's more present in the game. Really makes himself, have the spotlight on him in terms of like what he does on and off the pitch for Arsenal. But Odegaard today, he showed a different level of captaincy, a different level of leadership. That was a performance where you can just tell that he's back. And if anything, a lot of eyes will be shifted to Eberechi Eze because he has not seen the pitch for 3 games in a row now. 3 games in a row he's not seen the pitch. So it just goes to show how good Odegaard is and how important he is. I mean, guys, that second goal should just say it all. The way he wins the ball high up the pitch. He's not really known for being physical. This guy won so many duels today, man. So many physical duels against the likes of Tielemans, against the likes of, Onanas. A lot of physical duels Odegaard was able to win when winning the ball high up the pitch. And he created that second goal, that Zubimendi goal, the pass in behind. That was majestic. Chef's kiss, man. So the real question is, can he continue? Can Odegaard continue this run of form? Because for the last couple of games, it's safe to say that, he's kind of shown that he's been revitalized, that he's come back. He's looking like the 22-23 Odegaard. The real question is, can he continue? Because I don't want him to suffer another injury. He goes absent for 6 months and then he comes back. Or he drops in form, doesn't really make himself present like he did last season. So the real question is, can he continue? And I really hope he does because Odegaard, in my opinion, he's a top footballer. His technical ability, his IQ, he's known for that killer pass. He's known for playing the killer pass, even though I don't think that he's really mastered that just yet with the likes of Gyökeres. I feel like them two could really work together, but I feel like Arsenal are still trying to figure out the ideologies between their styles of play and stuff. But it's so good to see Odegaard back, playing football at his very best again. And honestly, when Arsenal were 2-0 up, I saw what I wanted to see. The last 2 or 3 games, let's call it what it is. Whenever Arsenal took the lead, whenever Arsenal were 2 or 3-0 up or whatever, you'd expect them to concede. Whether that be because of, silly mistakes or whether, Arteta drops the line so deep to the point, where they're just absorbing pressure for 20 minutes for absolutely no reason. I saw what I wanted to see because they put Villa to the sword. How many times against Wolves, against Brighton, in the last month or so, have we seen Arsenal just become complacent, sit back, absorb pressure for no reason, This was a game where you're 2-0 up against Villa, assuming that what happened last season and the season before, what happened 3 weeks ago. You put them to the sword. You kill them. And that Trossard goal was the dagger, honestly. A lot of people are saying, when they're 2-0 up, they could have won the game. No, hell no. When Trossard scored the third, that's the dagger. And you can just tell the type of goal it was too. What a finish, man. What a finish. Trossard's honestly another player that should be given a lot of flowers, man. Because in the summer, there's a lot of talk about how Arsenal need a bona fide left winger. Can Arsenal go another season with the rotation of, Martinelli and Trossard? Who starts in the Champions League? Who starts in the Prem? They don't really have a star in terms of the left winger spot. And, they were obviously linked, to Leao. They were linked to Rodrigo, linked to Semenyo. So many other players, in Buemo too. But Trossard, man, what a footballer. Guys, he's so unique. He is such a unique footballer. It's probably the best way to describe him. Because he just has so much to his game. Considering his size, considering his height, he's surprisingly strong, surprisingly quick. He's probably the best finisher at the club, in my opinion. Considering the talent pool that they have up top. He is probably the best finisher at the club. Says a lot about his game. The fact that he consistently turns up against a big club every single time needs to be talked about. He may not be the flashiest winger. He might not have, the stats across the whole season. But what this guy does in terms of contributions, in terms of, actually making an impact on the pitch against the big teams, against teams where you need to win the game, Trossard is there, man. Trossard is there. What a footballer. Honestly, he's so good. Did so well for the Jesus goal as well. Zubimendi laying it off to Trossard. Trossard bombing down that left wing, lays it off to Jesus. Jesus cushioned finish. What a finish. bottom corner. Literally 30 seconds or within the minute of him coming on. And honestly, I was expecting the camera to pan to Gyökeres because, hey man, that's another question mark. And as much as I don't want to, criticize Arsenal or be like, too negative, because I do think that this is a huge win. They should celebrate. Fans, if you're an Arsenal fan, you should celebrate because that is a perfect way to end off 2025. But there are still a couple question marks in terms of some players, Gyökeres, will he turn up? When will he get his goals? When will he get the ground running? In terms of consistency, in terms of output, we'll have to wait and see. Can he actually fit this team? Because whenever Jesus comes on, man, this guy just looks free and flowing. And hopefully Jesus stays injury free because again, you can't really complain about having too much quality on and off the bench. And Villa fans, if you're watching this, Villa fans from the Insta video, the comment section, if you're watching this, don't be sad because 11 games in a row, winning 11 games in a row is not for everyone. It is not for everyone. And if anything, that's a lovely, incredible achievement. The fact that you've beaten or tied up with your own personal best record in your entire club's history is remarkable. And what you guys are doing under Emery right now, what you guys have been doing under Emery, Champions League last season, where you guys were 5 years ago, immense, man. Immense. The only thing that you should be worried about is I really hope Villa don't, car crash in form. Now that they lost to Arsenal, can they pick up wins again? Can they hit the ground running? Can they hit some sort of, winning streak again? I think that'll be really interesting to see in 2026. And of course, the man who loves scoring against Arsenal, Winter Watkins, grabs his 94th minute consolation goal. There really wasn't much to his game today. And so yeah, it was a tough night for Villa. Great night for Arsenal. 5 points clear at the top of the Premier League with Manchester City to play day after tomorrow. Guys, if you guys did enjoy, please leave a like, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Arsenal fans, Villa fans, whatever fans, let me know. Subscribe, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.